With 43.8% of youth unemployed, Nigeria faces a staggering challenge. Poverty, inequality, and social unrest threatens the future of its young population. It's time to address the root causes and find solutions to harness the energy and creativity of Nigeria's youth. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us on another interesting episode of Youth Connect on Trust TV. I am Fatima Ahmed. Joining me in the studio is Faith Mark. She is a realtor. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us.
You're welcome.
And then we have Muhammadu Liman. He's a writer. Thank you so much, Muhammadu, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I love the fact that we all have something we are doing and we are youth. You are a writer. You are a realtor. So, Muhammad, let me come to you with this first question. What do you think is the root cause of unemployment in Nigeria?
Well, when you speak about unemployment in Nigeria, there are a lot of different causes, and I'm sure many of us have heard about them. But some that are very important. I mean, you speak about something like nepotism. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't live in as meritocratic a society as we would want to live in. We live in a country where who you know is worth almost double of what you can do. And that's a very big contributor to unemployment. And then again, when you look at the system of education, and I don't even mean the quality of education. Let's put that to one side. There are lots of people who go to school, they study, and they come out with degrees that don't represent what they are capable of. Why? Maybe because you refuse to date one lecturer, you refuse to pay one lecturer here or there. So when things like this happen, there are different effects. One is the competition in the market is fake, in the job market, I mean. And the second is the country also doesn't benefit, because then you're employing people to develop the country who aren't as capable as some of the other people that might be there. So yeah, these are some of the causes for me that I've identified.
Okay, Faith, how about you? What do you think are the causes of unemployment? You can see the whooping percentage of unemployed youths out there. What do you think causes that?
Okay, most of its causes in our country is known. So I'll basically use experiences that I've had. You know, I've had to do 5 jobs in 1 year, I think, after NYSC, and most times, even after the whole education thing, that means even if, just as you said, the whole educational system is proper, there are still a lot of us that have done really well in school, but there are no opportunities out there, which has to do with the system. Our system basically, in all ramification, has failed us to an extent. Then the whole idea of self-employment thing, it's not, we don't know yet. So I feel like it has a lot to do with environment. So a lot of us grow up in societies where we are not taught that, okay, if you don't get to have these opportunities that these other people have due to maybe the fact that they know someone or the other, what else can you do? So, and a lot of times we don't know what we can do, you know. So a lot of having people tell us the right things we need to hear, being exposed to a number of things, we don't have it yet. But in recent times, I think we are beginning to get exposure to the internet, and we are going out there. So I feel like if our environment gives us more opportunities, definitely unemployment will be better.
Okay, so Muhammadu, you heard what she said as well. We all have varied, opinions or experience when it comes to unemployment. But how has that affected you in one way or the other? Because you are self-employed, I guess.
Yes.
But how has that unemployment affected you?
Well, for someone like me, I studied a very niche degree. So I studied international security. And the kind of jobs that you can do with that kind of degree are, in Nigeria, jobs where you really need to know somebody to be able to get into those places. And for someone like me who doesn't really know the people who are there, my degree doesn't really matter. Even though I would say in Nigeria, there aren't many people with this degree or with this expertise, it still affects me in that kind of a way. And even trying to be an entrepreneur, like Faith has said, we don't have an environment that nurtures you as an entrepreneur, or gives you the opportunities to invest in yourself as an entrepreneur. To be creative. Yeah, even if you have the ideas, sometimes the capital, sometimes the space, sometimes the backing that you need isn't always there.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, Faith, what do you think when it comes to peer now, out there are a lot of youths that are really seeking for jobs. Do we really need to wait for the government to provide jobs for us, or we should just, create something that we can be self-employed and have something that we can fall back to?
Okay, if we wait for our government, what can they really do? So I feel like there are a lot of things that are out there for us to lay our hands on, but some of us don't even know what we are capable of. For instance, I began with working in a fashion house, then working in a hotel, a lounge, you know, before I ventured into real estate. It was more like someone offered me a job. I served in a real estate company. I've always wanted it, but I never had a sales experience. So some of us don't even know what we can do yet. Sometimes until we're there, that's when we'll know what we can do. So in as much as it's good to be focused, okay, know what we want, it's okay to try out things sometimes, even when you're not certain that that's what works for you, especially when you have limited choices. You could just try something and it can just work. So we should keep trying things that we can lay our hands on.
I like the fact that you said we should keep trying. Muhammadu, what do you think from, you know, Faith's input? What do you think the kind of resources, you know, that youth need to support, you know, to become more creative, innovative in Nigeria or even in the society right now? Because we need to actually push for them to actually, you know, find that support that they need one way or the other. Maybe it could be from their parents or even your peer. What do you think is the resources that we need at this point?
Well, definitely one of the obvious ones is capital. Because when you meet people, you find that ideas, they aren't short of ideas. It's easy to meet somebody and they have an idea of something they want to do, they have a market they want to exploit or develop, but they don't have the capital. And even more than that, I know Faith said we can't always wait for the government, but I think we don't do a good job, especially as youths, of holding the people who are responsible for us accountable. They also need to do their part to create an environment where we can flourish as entrepreneurs. So I think those are the two main things: holding people accountable and getting them to create that environment for us, but also the capital that we need, maybe through loans, through official backing, government grants, things like that should be made available for youths. Okay,
so how about the private sector when it comes to unemployment? You know that they actually try to, you know, open doors for youths to get jobs. Do you think we need more private sectors to offer jobs to the youths these days?
Yeah, I believe that the private sector have their part to play as well, because a number of things, I for one can start up something and need other hands to do those things, you know. So okay, if I, as a private sector, do something, we don't always have to wait for it. One of the challenges we have is most private sectors do not have as much funds that it is to run their businesses as much as the government sector. So a lot of people run out there for other things. So I feel like the private sector can play a role if they can, if they can let people know that they can actually do these things. And one of the things that I feel like we the youth should look at is experiences gained, because those private sectors might not be able to give you the funds that you need, but one thing that you can learn is particularly the experiences that you need. Although private bosses are not the same as government bosses, because you don't have direct access to government parastatals, your bosses there, but you have direct. So there's this biases in who to employ and all that. So if we can take out the whole bias thing, and we are complaining about the government is government.
Do you think classism actually plays a role in what you're just saying? You're talking about being biased when it comes to giving jobs. Do you think classism plays a role in that aspect? When you're from this high class, you tend to get jobs or not?
It has a lot. It cannot be overemphasized. A lot of people. See, the truth, if I walk into a building and I look a certain way, definitely you would feel like, okay, this person is more capable. And we are Nigerians, we are political, and Nigerian politics is not particularly clean. So you feel like, okay, you want to get something to have something, but we should see beyond what is already there. Times have changed. This person's father had the money, he can do this, but what can this person bring to the table? So that classism thing is there, but sometimes we can shove it off and just allow these people express themselves.
Yeah, because I had a discussion about classism and how it affects youth in our society. Muhammadu, let me come to you with this question now. We're talking about private sector, the government. So how can the government, the private sector, CSOs come together to create more job opportunities for youth?
Well, the private sector, as Faith said, definitely has its part to play. There's a lot of sectors in Nigeria where it's the private firms or private businesses that are leading the development. But the reason that I don't put too much responsibility on the private sector is because they don't actually owe Nigerians the same as the government. The private sector is business oriented. They're in it to make money or to make profit or to achieve a certain aim. Whereas the government has a direct responsibility to Nigerians. It's really their job to do these kind of things for us.
Yeah.
Although the private sector can help them, even they sometimes are, how would I put it? Even they sometimes have their endeavors a bit stifled by the government, in the sense that the government might contract certain activities to foreign firms rather than to
give it
to Nigerians, which also affects us as youths. Because when they give those contracts out, more projects are available, more jobs become available. So yeah, I would definitely not put too much responsibility on the private sector. Even though they do have their part to play, I would still say the government has the most to do.
But then, Faith, our entertainment industry is really trying when it comes to, employing and giving opportunity. You can see that our youth are very, very creative. I know if given the opportunity, they're going to do a lot. So do you think we need more, support from the government also, like Muhammadu said, to, fund these creative minds that are out there doing one thing or the other? Even on social media, you can see the youth are not waiting for anybody. They're just out there trying to do something for themselves. So what do you think about the entertainment industry?
Okay, truthfully, entertainment is like the order of the day. Everybody goes to it as, it's like therapy. So it cannot go out of style. Everybody wants entertainment works. But we have a system now that works where you can actually generate those funds through entertainment, like especially through social media. You have more streams on your music and all that. You can run ads, and have people do this for you. So I feel they might not do so much. You can do as little as having people have phones good enough to cover their talent and all that. So I feel like if the government pays attention to entertainment, they don't really need to do much. They just have, sometimes what you just need is a support system that puts you out, because we've seen results of how the entertainment have worked already. So I don't think there's anybody that needs to tell them that entertainment works and it's easy these days. So just put the funds out there, allow people, push people, do the little things that people need. Go out there to those little communities and find those talents. The people that actually do these things are more like record labels. You hear people like Don Jazzy, Today and Not, they are the one, but the government don't do so much. So I feel like if they can pay attention to those things, especially through social media, you don't even need to go out there these days. Just go online, see what people do, and sponsor some of these people. And I feel like that's
Muhammadu, yeah, I like that fact. What kind of skills or training do you think the young people out there need to help them start a business, maybe to become an entrepreneur? How did you even start? Maybe from your experience they can take something.
Well, in my personal experience, learning about entrepreneurship is always the first way to go. Understanding how to appeal to customers, because one common misconception that you might have is the value of your product is your selling point. But sometimes it's not your selling point. Sometimes it's the way you relate with customers, the networks you build, and how you approach people. The skills you have outside of your product or outside of your business also matter. So those are some of the things that you need. Although I like the conversation of film and
the entertainment industry.
Because these are underdeveloped industries in Nigeria. If you take just two examples that everybody knows about, take film and football, for example. In the US, Hollywood is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which is, our film industry in Nigeria is very underdeveloped compared to theirs.
Certainly.
Exactly. If you look at, there's an organization called the NCAA in America. They're the organization that they arrange into school, in terms of universities, into school sporting event. That's also a multi-billion-dollar industry in America. Imagine we had something like that in Nigeria that was generating revenue for the country, creating jobs. So many advantages that you can see in that. So for me, that's one of the markets that is very underdeveloped in Nigeria.
All right, let's go on a quick break, and when we return, this discussion will continue. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Youth Connect coming to you from our studios here in Abuja. Now, before we went on break, Muhammadu made a very important point, relating, or should I say comparing the Nigerian industry to the, foreign industry. But then, Faith, what do you think the role or, technology, and innovation can play in helping out with unemployment? There are technologies that, these days we keep inventing new technologies that people can actually make money from. So what kind of technology do you think can help youths out there?
Okay, I think the most popular that we have is one of the most important ones that we have mining, we have referrals, which a lot of people call affiliate marketing. It's one of the tools that can be used. But I feel like the world is evolving and everything is going very global and technological. So I feel like basically everybody should have a level of a technological knowledge, go into tech and all that, the whole software thing. But the truth is that not everybody can do it. But there are people that do it with ease and all that. So instead of us to dwell on the fact that we have oil and all that, there's something he said, entertainment is one of the ways, and you're saying technology, right? Tech now. I feel like it's something that we can venture into, especially if our government, a lot of problems we have is lack of funds, because what you value is where you put your funds at. So if our country can put a lot when it comes to those things, I think people are doing a lot of cryptocurrency, people are doing a lot of things, basically mining, that would actually, they can encourage people, sometimes enlightenment, so people don't know that these things exist. So if we can educate people about these things and tell them these things that actually exist, you can actually make money of it. Our parents would say, okay, it's obvious to do something better with your time, you're doing this. So if you can actually believe that these things work and let people know that you can try this thing and can work, and bring people that have done these things and they can tell us that these things actually work, I feel like that's one way to go about it.
I feel like you want to add something, because you're just looking, it feels like you have something. So how do you think technology and innovations can address some of this unemployment that we have with youth?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I do agree with Faith, and I would love to say that technology is one.
You agree with Faith with everything she says?
Well, I do agree with her main points. Technology is one of the high impact areas that the government can engage youth in. If you think about Nigeria's digital infrastructure, in so many areas we're lacking, and this is something that can build on itself. If the government can invest in information technology. And I know I keep going back to foreign countries, but if you look at China, China has a firewall that blocks so many of these foreign websites, for example. So they don't have YouTube, they may not have Facebook. But because the government has invested in information technology, they have their own version of all of these things. There's a Chinese Facebook, there's a Chinese WhatsApp, maybe there's a Chinese YouTube. So why can't that be us? Because Nigerians are not short of talent. We're very intelligent people. So I don't see why with the right investment, with the right nurturing, we can't create an information and communication industry that rivals any other country. So,
Nigerians are actually very creative, especially the youths. But then, the next question is going to be to the both of you. How can we, promote entrepreneurship and self-employment among young people? How do we let them know that it's really important to venture into, self-employment, creativity, something that can push them and, make them come out of their shells?
Well, it's like Faith said earlier, on waiting for the government. Of course, it's their responsibility, but if you say you want to wait for them to do it for you, at the end of the day, you won't have anything. So the truth is that we need to create that environment, provide access to loans, provide access to grants. Entrepreneurship education should be mandatory in schools, I believe. Something that will show people that there's another way. You don't have to work for somebody necessarily. You can build your own. And
he made mention of, schools. Do you think it's very important, for schools to start, teaching youth or children about the importance of entrepreneurship even before they graduate from schools?
I agree with him. There are a lot of facts that he has mentioned of how that foreign countries do a lot of these things and it works. So I feel like one of the reasons why it should be put in schools is one of the issues we have is fear. We are scared because there are certain things that have worked in the past. Just as I said before, there are always questions of, will this thing work? Does it work? How many people have done these things? And how good is it? How effective is the whole entrepreneurship thing? But if you teach them this thing, not just as a curriculum, sometimes just, okay, our our system in Nigeria, we all went to school. You know, you go to the board, give notes, give tests and all that. No practical ways of. So it's not just about bringing it as our curriculum, but having practical ways. Okay, fine. Okay, this person does very well. Okay, start selling so thing. You know, start doing so thing. Let that fear go away. It's not about, okay, it's not about the fact that this in Nigeria tech. If you say you want to do crypto now, you know, a lot of people will say you're just lazy, you're just sitting at home in front of your system. So teach them that this thing works and how it works.
But then people make lots of money.
Lots of money. But that fear needs to be eradicated. So it's not just teaching us at the curriculum. It's boring to be in class and learn these things. But when you teach people, okay, do it this way, be more practical in the whole entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so you mean practical,
yes.
You know, pays more than just, you know, teaching. But then teaching is also very important because, but when you show them that they are going to make money from it, they will jump on it. Yeah. But then, how do you think, you know, what are the potential solutions, you know, to how we can address the mismatch between education and employment?
The potential solutions. Well, I always like to start from the government. I really do believe this is their responsibility. In terms of education,
even making the education, the schools habitant for people to be able to. You can even see how the schools are right now.
Exactly. Sometimes you go to some schools and the conditions aren't right for people to flourish, for people to grow. And there's something they do in foreign countries that they call guidance counseling or career counseling. And I feel like that's something we don't have enough because, you know, as a kid, sometimes from GS3 or SS1, you're expected to have an idea of what you want to do in life, choose your subjects and all that. But these are 15, 16-year-olds. Not all of them know exactly what they want to do in life. So when you look at the education system, we should have something in place or someone in place who can actually guide them into discovering themselves and figuring out something that they would like to do, either, you know, entrepreneurially or in terms of working for somebody or working in a certain sector of the economy. So yeah, I think that's something we need.
So Faith, how do you think we can, you know, engage more young people, you know, especially when it comes to politics, you know, to address some of these issues that are affecting us in Nigeria and even in the society, like I rightly said earlier?
Politics, young people, especially us in a society where when you're pretty young, you just feel you're naturally intimidated by the number of people you're there, and you are the only young person out there and all that. But the truth is, if one person does not start, you know, and I feel like leadership doesn't necessarily have to begin with just politics. Sometimes when you start leadership programs out there in schools, in your community and all that, one of the ways I learn about other societies is through movies. And I've seen that we are not the ones that have the biggest problems in the world in Nigeria. America is one of the biggest countries that we have, but certain things, they have racism, they have a lot of things that are not working well. But they've been able to put these things in order, and youths are getting really involved in the whole thing. So most of what we should do, just as he said, the government need to create a lot of opportunities for people, have mentors, and other people that can tell you you can actually do this and all that, which is one of the things that we really need. But I feel like we can actually put ourselves out there, even as youths, because you can't sit down and say this is how to do it and expect that nothing is done. So one is getting involved, and two is cooperation. So one person comes out there, and you are a youth as well, and you're feeling like, why is this person, if this thing has never worked? So if everybody feels like, has one voice and feels like, okay, you as a youth, you can do this thing and all that, it doesn't have to be our fathers. You know, and we have one voice. Trust me, you can't, you wouldn't know how much having one voice can help. So we have one voice, and we feel we can do it, and we go out there. I feel like it will help us.
All right, thank you so much, Faith. Well, Muhammadu, let me take this last question, you know, to you. What message do you have for policymakers, you know, business leaders, you know, what in terms of even stakeholders in addressing this youth employment or unemployment that we have?
Well, okay, so I know the question you've asked, but let me edit it a little bit.
Okay.
So I have a message for the leaders as well, but I also have a message for the youth. So starting from the leaders, they really do need to take more responsibility for the state of the country, for the people around them, for the communities they grow up in. Because a lot of times you see that people escape a certain situation and they just never look back. They're going forward, they've left everything else behind, but that really can't be the case.
Yeah.
And even for the government, one of the major causes of youth unemployment is the fact that the government policies aren't consistent. For example, you hear one administration starts a program or project, they get voted out, the next administration cancels
another
it,
one, yeah.
and they continue. So that's something that we need to work on. There needs to be more consistency, because it's not just about politics. This is people's lives that are at stake. So for them, that's my message. But for the youth as well, I would love to say that we need to create a culture of taking action. You know, it has to be more than just sitting down and talking about problems or identifying problems. We also have to be able to take action to say, yes, this is enough and we want things to be different and this is what we're going to do about it. Like Faith said, you know, we really do need to make this a priority. We need to put ourselves there and have one voice and say, yes, this is how we want to move forward.
All right, Faith, do you have anything to add up to what Muhammadu said? What message do you have for, policymakers or even the government?
So for policymakers, just as he said, doing things that, being consistent, it's very important for us. It's important for our government to be consistent with what they have, and they should understand that times change. You get so a number of times what they are changing does not really have effect and any advantage to these people. So when you put your people first, it's easier for you to change the policy. So they have to be consistent with what they do. If A is A, let it be A. If it's B, let it be B, and let it be to the advantage of not just themselves, but to these people. And for the youths, just as he said, we need to be involved. Let's go all out. I want to give an instance, a very quick instance. During the whole NSAS thing and all that, a lot of youths came out.
Yes.
But you'll be so shocked at the number of youths that would sit down and tell you that they were not supposed to do this, they were not supposed to. So if one person, everybody would not do it, nobody should do it. And if you cannot do it, don't push people out there. And if you are going to, if you're pushing someone out there, you should also be ready to go out there.
All right, thank you so much, Faith Mark, for joining us on this program. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Muhammadu Liman, thank you so much for joining us. And this is where we come to the end of Youth Connect for this week. Join us again next week for another interesting episode. Do not forget to also catch us across our social media handles in case you've missed any of our episodes. And don't wait for the government, to employ or give you a job, even though we know it's their responsibility. Stand up and do something for yourself. I remain Fatima Ahmed Musa. Bye for now.